Good day, everybody. My name is Ulrike Stanley, and I'm the director at Talk to a Counselor, your preferred #1 professional counselors. Today, we are going to be discussing holistically on childhood trauma. Today, we are going to be teaching parents what to do so they do not get their child traumatized. We're also going to be teaching adults who are possibly going through traumatic situations how and what to do so that they can become better persons. Now, we do hope that you have subscribed to our YouTube channel and you're also following us on all our social media handles showing on your screen. We also want to beg that you share this video with all your friends. That is the only way you can continue encouraging us to do more. A deeply distressing or disturbing experience is what trauma is. That is the definition for trauma. It puts you off balance. It totally destabilizes you. You lose who you are. That is what trauma is. Now, trauma has 3 categories. Now, the first category is acute trauma, and this arises from just a single incident. Right, just a single incident. That's where you look at acute trauma. The next category is chronic trauma. That is when it is repeated or when it is prolonged. A typical example is domestic violence or abuse. It is repeated, it is prolonged. That is chronic trauma. The next one is complex trauma. Now, this arises from exposure to various and multiple events. Take for example, somebody who is suffering from domestic violence, rape. In addition, the person have had an accident. So all of this put together, you cannot say the person is going through complex trauma. Now, having explained what trauma is, let us now look at childhood trauma. What is childhood trauma? When we look at childhood trauma, we try to look at that serious adverse childhood experience. That serious childhood adverse experience. All of those experiences that could just take the child back, that could distort the child's growth and development. That is childhood trauma, and it can come in various forms. Okay, childhood trauma can come in the form of neglect, in the form of abandonment. It could be sexual abuse, it could be physical abuse. You see, these events, they actually have profound psychological, physiological and social impacts, and can have very negative and lasting effects on health and well-being. Now, childhood trauma actually affects a child, especially if not taken care of. If the child does not get intervention before he or she becomes an adult. We are going to look at the various effects childhood trauma actually has on that child while growing up. Number 1 is the health effect. Now, the health effect could vary. It could be depression, it could be hypertension, it could even be unbalanced brain development, it could be impairment of development of social skills. You see, children raised in traumatic or risky family, they tend to have what we call excessive internalizing. That is where you see them withdraw socially. They have anxiety, they have fear. Now, they also show what we call excessive externalizing. That is where you see them begin to exhibit aggressive behavior. You begin to see them with suicidal behaviors. These are some of the health effects. Now, how about the psychological impact? This is where you discover that they risk mental disorder, including post-traumatic stress disorder. You see that they have attachment issues, trust issues. They could even fall into depression. Yes, and also some of them are most likely to also abuse substance. Yeah, in a way to get off from whatever feeling, they could take to substance, and then you see addiction issues begins to set in. These are some of the psychological. The next is the socio-economic cost. Now, the socio-economic cost of childhood trauma, the costs are actually very difficult to calculate. The effects are also very difficult to calculate, but prominent among them is low academic achievement. Low academic achievement. You now discover that such a child may not even have confidence in himself or herself, thereby affecting his or her performance in school. Another aspect of socioeconomic cost is what we call adult criminality. Such a child who is unable to mix up with his peers, such a child who is always withdrawn, that kind of child that always has no confidence in himself or herself, will now want to take to adult criminality. And that is why some persons will tell you that take a look at all those who are defying all societal morals. Go and ask who their parents are. That is childhood trauma we are actually talking about, and other lifelong mental health problems. These are some of the socio-economic costs that on the long run you may not be able to calculate it. Another effect we'll be discussing is what we call transgenerational or intergenerational effects. Now, this effect can be transferred from one generation of childhood trauma survivors to subsequent generations of offsprings. This is known as transgenerational or intergenerational trauma, and it can manifest in parenting behaviors. Research has also shown that children's experiences of trauma and abuse within close relationships not only jeopardize their well-being in childhood, but it also has long-lasting consequences that extends well into adulthood. That is, children who experience all of this from number one, close relations, the trust children have in their parents, for example. When they go through some of this in the hands of their parents, it's most definitely lives with them for the rest of their life. They grow up believing that is the way it should be, and when they give birth, when they begin to have their own offspring, they could pass that on. So you see it has started going from one generation onto another. For all our listeners out there, these are some of the steps you can take in order for you to try to heal from any traumatizing event you must have experienced in your childhood or in your past. The first is for you to understand that there is a challenge. Now, this understanding comes with acceptance. It comes with acceptance that there is something that needs to be worked on. Now, there are three things you also have to look at when you are trying to understand that there's a challenge. The first one is for you to explore your self-knowledge. What do you understand about childhood trauma? Just the way you have learned a lot from this video, you have to explore your self-knowledge of trauma. Now, you also need to see things for what they really are. See things for what they really are. Understand that yes, this is what it is, and it is time for me to get help. Another step is do not confuse acceptance with preference. Don't confuse acceptance with preference. It is very, very important that at this time you distance yourself from toxic people, people who can create, whatever it is that will remind you of what you went through. Distance yourself from toxic people. You also need to learn stress reduction techniques. Now, we all know that when many a time when we are stressed, we could easily snap. We could easily get angry. All of these things just come up, and many a time you do not really have control over it. So learn stress reduction technique. It is also very important that you seek out support. Do not always want to do it alone. Seek out support. The support could be from your neighbor, it could be from those you work with, or your family members. It is also very important that if you are dealing with trauma, you try and get more sleep so that your brain will be relaxed, and when you are up the following day for whatever activity, you feel refreshed. Another thing that needs to be done is for you to tighten tighten up your diet. Now, research has also shown that balanced diet helps to minimize mood swings. So try to eat right, eat good food, and also try to exercise. It will all aid in balancing mood swings. Now, another thing you need to understand is to allow yourself to get close to people. You see, many people who are actually going through trauma, they already have put themselves on survival mode. It is not always the best. There is a saying that nothing melts shame faster than allowing the full weight of your heart to be seen by another person. Nothing melts shame faster, than allowing the full weight of your heart to be seen by another person. Always get close to people. You also need to realize that you are safe. Do not be in a state of fight or flight. Understand that you are no longer in that situation. You are now trying to help yourself come out of it, and so you must take yourself away from that fight or fly state. And last of all, that I would really recommend is find a trauma specialist. Now, you may not understand how to go through all of these tips I gave earlier, but if you're able to find a trauma therapist, you can get help in no distant time. Recall I said earlier, it is not impossible, it is only hard, but a trauma therapist would help you on the. Thank you for watching our video. We do hope you've learned a whole lot from it. Now, please do not forget to click on the subscribe button and also share this video to your friends. Our handle, social media handle, is showing on your screen. So please keep following us, keep listening to our videos, keep sharing it. That is the only encouragement we need from you. So we'll continue to put this out there. Till I come your way next time. Bye for now.